I just spent the last 2 weeks doing something kind of insane. I pulled up 100 of the highest performing faceless YouTube thumbnails from the last 6 months. Channels like MagnatesMedia, Alux, Nick Invests, Psych2Go, 2-Minute Papers, JX My High Roller, Internet Anarchist, and dozens of others. Channels that are pulling millions of views every single month without ever showing a face. And I started breaking down every single thumbnail one by one. The colors, the layout, the text, the emotion, the focal point, what they showed and what they intentionally hid. And what I found was honestly kind of shocking, because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. These thumbnails are not random. They're not even creative in the way most people think. They follow a quiet, repeatable formula that almost nobody talks about. And it's the reason these channels are crushing it, while most beginner faceless thumbnails get completely ignored. So in this video, I'm going to break down every single pattern I found across those 100 thumbnails. The colors that keep showing up, the layouts that win, the psychological triggers behind the design, and the small details that separate a thumbnail that gets 5,000 views from one that gets 5 million. By the end, you'll never design a thumbnail the same way again. Let's get into it. The first thing I noticed across almost every single viral faceless thumbnail was extreme visual contrast. And I don't just mean color contrast, I mean contrast in every element. Light against dark, big against small, one object isolated against a busy background. The viral ones never feel balanced or peaceful. They feel like something is about to happen. Take any MagnatesMedia thumbnail. You'll see a single dramatic object, like a stack of cash, a luxury watch, or a famous logo, sitting against a moody cinematic background. There's no clutter, there's no fancy gradient overlay, just one bold focal point and a high contrast scene built around it. The reason this works is biological. Our eyes are wired to lock onto contrast within milliseconds, especially on mobile, where over 75% of YouTube views happen now. If your thumbnail does not have a clear winner that the eye locks onto in the first half second, the viewer's brain registers it as visual noise and keeps scrolling. So before anything else, ask yourself one question. If someone glanced at my thumbnail for half a second, would they know exactly what the focal point is? If the answer is no, you're already losing. Now moving on to the second pattern, and this one surprised me the most. Almost none of the top faceless thumbnails I studied used more than 3 words. In fact, the average was around 2 to 3 words total. Channels like Alux, Nick Invests, and 2-Minute Papers consistently keep their thumbnail text shorter than what most beginners would consider enough information. And there's a brutal logic behind this. On mobile, a YouTube thumbnail is roughly the size of a postage stamp. If your text takes longer than 1 second to read, it's already too long. The viewer doesn't have time to process a full sentence, they have time to process a punch. So instead of writing why most people stay broke their entire life, the viral thumbnail just says stay broke in massive bold letters. Instead of the hidden secret behind compound interest, it says $10,000 lost. The text isn't a sentence, it's a shock. And here's the key part. The thumbnail text should never repeat the title. It should add a second layer of curiosity that the title doesn't reveal. Your title says one thing, your thumbnail says something different, and together they create a complete story that forces the click. Moving on to the third pattern, color psychology. This one I expected to find, but I didn't realize how strict the formula actually was. Almost every viral faceless thumbnail I studied used a tight, intentional color palette of 2 to 3 colors maximum. And the same combinations kept showing up across niches. Blue and orange, red and black, yellow and dark navy, green and white. These aren't accidents. These are complementary color pairs that scientifically create the highest contrast on screen. Yellow against violet, red against cyan, blue against orange. These are the visual equivalent of a fire alarm going off in the corner of your eye. Channels like Internet Anarchist lean heavily into red and black for that dramatic, investigative feel. Channels like Alux and luxury content lean into gold and black to signal wealth and status. AI channels lean into electric blue and orange because it feels futuristic and energetic. The takeaway is simple. Pick a 2-color palette that matches the emotion of your niche and stick with it across every video. Consistency in color builds something called visual authority. Over time, your audience starts to recognize your thumbnails in the feed before they even read the title. That's how brands like MagnatesMedia and Alux have become instantly recognizable without ever showing a face. Now we step into the fourth pattern, and this one is the most underrated. Every single viral faceless thumbnail tells a story without saying a word. They don't just look pretty, they make you feel something is happening. A pile of money on fire, a red arrow pointing down at a chart, a famous logo with a giant X over it, a briefcase cracking open with light spilling out. These are not random visuals, they're visual storytelling. They show a moment of tension, a before and after, or a contradiction that the viewer needs to resolve. And the human brain cannot ignore a story it hasn't finished. This is what designers call the curiosity gap, and it's the same psychological trigger Mr. Beast uses on every single one of his thumbnails. The difference is, faceless channels can't rely on a shocked face to carry the story, so they have to use objects, symbols, and composition instead. The trick is to design your thumbnail like a movie poster, not like a description of your video. A movie poster doesn't tell you what happens, it teases what might happen. Your thumbnail needs to do the exact same thing. Moving on to the fifth pattern, the one that almost every beginner gets wrong: negative space. The top faceless thumbnails I studied weren't crowded, they were intentionally empty in the right places. There was a single focal point in the center or off to one side, and the rest of the frame was clean. No extra icons, no random arrows, no 5 different text overlays fighting for attention, just one thing for your eye to land on. This goes back to the rule of thirds, which is one of the oldest rules in visual design. If you mentally divide your thumbnail into a 3x3 grid, the most powerful visual positions are where the grid lines intersect, not the dead center. Top creators position their focal element at one of these intersections and leave breathing room on the opposite side, often for short text. Compare that to what most beginner faceless creators do, which is jam every element into the frame, add 5 different colors, 3 icons, a glowing border, and a 15-word title overlaid in cursive font. It's chaos. The viewer's eye doesn't know where to look, so it looks nowhere, and nowhere means scroll past. Now we get into the sixth pattern, which is one of the most powerful triggers across all 100 thumbnails I studied: the use of recognizable iconography. Logos, money symbols, famous faces, brand marks, country flags, red arrows, danger signs, anything the human brain already has stored in long-term memory. Because here's the thing, your brain processes a familiar symbol in milliseconds. A McDonald's logo, a Tesla badge, the face of a famous CEO, a dollar sign, a fire emoji, a downward red arrow. These are all visual shortcuts that bypass conscious thinking and trigger immediate recognition. That's why business documentary channels like MagnatesMedia almost always feature a recognizable brand in their thumbnails. The Louis Vuitton bag, the Apple logo, the Nike swoosh. Even before you read the title, your brain already knows what the video is about, which makes it dramatically easier to click. If your niche allows it, use this. A finance video featuring the Federal Reserve logo will outperform a finance video with generic charts. A psychology video referencing a famous public figure will outperform a generic stock photo. Familiar symbols are click magnets. Moving on to the seventh pattern, and this is the one almost nobody talks about: mobile first design. Every single viral faceless thumbnail I studied was clearly designed for a 5-inch phone screen, not a 27-inch desktop monitor. I noticed this when I shrunk all 100 thumbnails down to mobile size and looked at them in a grid. The viral ones were still instantly readable. The amateur ones became blurry, cluttered messes. So here's the test. Design your thumbnail in full size, then shrink it down to 160 by 90 pixels, which is roughly the size it'll appear on a phone. If you can still tell what's happening, the focal point pops and the text is readable, you have a winner. If it turns into mush, you have to redesign. Bigger objects, bolder text, simpler composition. The mobile feed is brutal. You have one chance to grab attention, and it has to work at thumb size. That's the standard the top creators are designing for, whether they realize it or not. And the eighth pattern, the one that tied all of this together. The viral thumbnails were always designed alongside the title, not separately. This is the thing I think most beginner faceless creators miss completely. They write a title, make a video, and then design a thumbnail at the very end like an afterthought. But the top channels treat the title and thumbnail as one single asset, two halves of the same promise. The title gives you context, the thumbnail gives you the emotional hook. Together, they create a curiosity that neither could trigger alone. For example, MagnatesMedia did a video where the title was something like "The Homeless Teen Who Created Louis Vuitton." On its own, that title is interesting, but the thumbnail showed a tattered shoe next to a luxury LV bag with the word homeless in bold. Now suddenly, the title and thumbnail are working together, telling a complete mini story that you have to click to finish. This is the level you need to design at if you want to compete. Stop treating your thumbnail like a decoration. Start treating it like 50% of your entire video's success. Now here's the truth I want to leave you with. After studying 100 of the best faceless thumbnails on YouTube, the pattern is clear. The top channels are not more creative than you, they're just more disciplined. They follow the rules. High contrast, 3-word text, 2-color palette, 1 strong focal point, visual storytelling, familiar symbols, mobile-first design, and a thumbnail that works with the title, not against it. If you nail those 8 things on every single upload, your CTR will quietly start climbing, and YouTube will start pushing your videos to more people. That's the real algorithm hack nobody talks about. And if you want me to actually help you design your thumbnails, write your titles, and build your faceless channel from the ground up, I have a school community where I personally go deep into all of this with everyone inside. We share thumbnails, give each other feedback, break down what's working in real time, and build together. If you're serious about this, the link is in the description. Come join us. Now, if you made it this far, drop your channel name or your latest video in the comments. I'll go through as many as I can and tell you exactly what your thumbnail needs to fix. I read every single one. And if you want to know how to actually write titles that match thumbnails this strong, watch this video on screen next. I'll see you there. Bye bye.